What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Where's Phil? Where's Phil? Where's Phil? Phil had a baby. Well, his wife had a baby. Phil supported and was largely responsible for the event in some ways, but the work was done by Mrs. Perry. We congratulate Phil, his wife, and his other two kids. 3 is a lot. We had 3 in 3 years. Back in the late 90s, 3 in 34 months, it was a lot. We had a triple stroller. We'd line them all up, everybody in diapers at once. But it's a blessed event, and we congratulate Phil, and we can't wait till he's back, but we're glad that he's not here because he's doing something important. So no Phil. What's that mean? That means a one-on-one with Devin McCourty. That also means a conversation from early edition that we had with Brent Harris from WBAL. We went deep on the Lamar Jackson conversation, which just won't go away. No matter how often I try to talk sense to you people, we keep talking about it and talking about it. So we have those. But before we launch into those interviews, and first a nod as well to the fact that Ian Rappaport, NFL media, has tweeted that things are heating up on the DeAndre Hopkins front. So if a shoe drops with DeAndre, we will be sure to circle back in this pod and do addendums. I don't think it's gonna today. Famous last words. We're going to get into, are the Patriots better or worse with their ins and outs and re-signs so far in free agency, additionally with their coaching staff changes? I put that to Twitter in the form of a quick slants poll. And here's the return so far to the question posed. Since the end of the season, the Patriots' additions and subtractions have made them better. 48% of the folks thinking that. Worse, 4.4% think that. About the same, 4.4%. Wait, 44%. Where's my glasses? 44%. And they did something? Just 3.2% of you ingrates say they did something. So let's roll through real quick. Let's roll through the actual ins and outs. So we're not just casting about wondering, well, what did they actually do here? Ins, Juju Smith-Schuster, tight end Mike Gesicki, running back James Robinson, might have slipped under your radar. Tackles, Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson, special teamer Chris Board. People are bored with the special teamers. Resigns. And these are not insignificant, even though they were on the team previously, still significant to retain your own free agents. Jonathan Jones, Jabril Peppers, Raekwon McMillan, Mac Wilson, Miles Bryant, Carl Davis, and Daniel Ekuale on the defensive side of the ball. Ooh. All right, relax. Jonathan Jones is a good player. Jabril Peppers is a very important re-sign. Offensive side of the ball, Joe Cardona, who's your long snapper, Connor McDermott, also a long special teams guy, Matthew Slater, and utility lineman James Ferretz. Pardon me. Who's out? Damian Harris, out. He's gone to the Bills. They got the kid Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong last year to be their running back depth. In addition, they've added Robinson. Jonnu Smith. Well, I liked him. He's a good dude. Remember him on Irrelevant Questions, don't you? Didn't do diddly for the money he was being paid. Gesicki's an upgrade. Jalen Mills, money-saving effort, missed a significant amount of time at the end of the year. I would say overall, better than anticipated, though, in his time here in New England, and does leave a bit of a void in the depth chart. Jacoby Myers, yeah, Juju does maybe a little bit more after the catch, but in terms of leadership, in terms of nuance and understanding how Mac Jones likes to perform, in terms of being an economical solution, even though Juju Smith-Schuster is more expensive, what about bringing guys up to speed? The cost of that and the cost of losing the leadership when a guy like the next guy, Devin McCourty, has gone out of the building. Then the guys that we already know about, Jake Bailey, Nelson Aguilar, Isaiah Wynn, Brian Hoyer, and Joejuan Williams seem to have their Patriots careers at an end. Finally, coaching changes. Bill O'Brien in, Adrian Clem in, Matt Patricia seemingly out. So what's the sum of all these parts that have moved around? To me, You're a better football team, especially because of the last group coaching. The worst thing the Patriots had in 2022, the thing that prevented them from being a playoff team, was offensive ineptitude. Offensive ineptitude amplified by a system change that the players didn't warm to. And eventually, after spending the summer and the spring and an early part of the season trying to get wide zone into their system, they had to scrap. They had to walk back what they were trying to do and go back more to the gap runs that they had succeeded with previously. They didn't know what they wanted to do offensively. They didn't have an identity. They had no rhythm in their play calling. And as a result, you saw a team that in the final analysis, to get to 8-9, it's a little eye-widening. Remember, I had that long fight, and it bordered on fight, with our guy Michael Holley in the middle of the season. I think the Patriots at the time were well within the playoff picture. They might have been 6-3 or whatever they were. And he said it's a good team. I said it's not a good team. It's an okay team with a decent record. And in the end, that's basically water seeking its level, what they ended up being. But they addressed it with Bill O'Brien, which I think is going to put a turbocharge into the entire offense, which helps the defense by keeping the defense off the field largely. So that's the first best move. The next best move is Mike Gesicki. You get Jonnu out, who wasn't contributing. You bring Gesicki in. You lessen an AFC East rival when the AFC East rivals have been getting better all over the place, with a guy who is a threat in the red zone and is a threat on third down. It adds another target for Mac Jones, because Mac Jones now has Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hunter Henry, and Mike Gesicki. That's 6 dudes. Not even getting into the fact that one of the best young running backs in the league, Ramondre Stevenson, is cruising around in the backfield, ready to come out and catch a pass or two. Additionally, don't forget Ty Montgomery. He's your pace back. He got hurt last year. I still think that's a place that needs upgrading. But to me, you have enough offensive guys to mix it up, to throw the football, to run the football, to have success, as long as they're coached up. Look, this is a team that averaged about 20 points a game. They have to be a threat to offensively get to 27 on their own without a special teams touchdown, without a return touchdown defensively. Pick six, fumble recovery, strip sack. God bless them for being as resourceful as they were in getting those. But the offense has to be a threat to score 24, or you're just spinning your wheels in the frickin' mud. Worst moves? I already alluded to it. Jacoby Myers. Okay. Enough said. We've belabored that point. Frontline tackle fail so far. Look, Riley Reif is 34. Nobody's idea of an anchor. Calvin Anderson, he was a bit player in Denver. Now, I've seen bit players come in and play well. But whether it be Mike McGlinchey or Jawan Taylor, there were higher end tackles out there that the Patriots passed on. Cornerback is also going to be something else the Patriots are looking at, I think, right now. And I think it's one of their worst areas in terms of non-addressing so far. So what's left to do? You need a little more quarterback depth. Zappe and Mac Jones should be fine in terms of you can go into the season with a straight face and say, this is our quarterback room. I don't think anybody is going to wet their pants if they're a defensive coordinator saying, oh, what are we going to do with these two? But be that as it may, a far cry from when Bill Belichick was saying, I think we have the best quarterback situation in the league. Next up, corner. You need to address it with a big guy. What's the situation with Jack Jones? We'll try and ferret out information on that next week when we're at the owners' meetings and we have the opportunity to talk to Bill Belichick, who I'm sure will be incredibly revealing about how things are with that corner. They need a better tackle. They need to seek tight ends in the draft. Very good draft. Punter. Okay, a Bill Belichick team without a punter. What are we talking about? Can't have that. And third down back. I don't think Ty Montgomery is your long-term answer. Could it be Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris? TBD. maybe James Robinson, who they added, but I just think that James Robinson is more or less what Damian Harris was. So when we look at all that, there's still plenty left to do, but I think the Patriots are a better team than they were at the beginning of the offseason, which is the aim of it. They're adding guys. To me, and again, maybe I have Stockholm syndrome. And that's when you begin to sympathize with your captor. And covering the team and Bill Belichick for 23 seasons, I've seen often people like, well, Curran obviously hates Belichick. I do not. I've had a good relationship with the guy, a very close relationship at times. I think that we've gotten crossways over the last 5 or 6 years since 2017, really beginning with the decision in the Super Bowl and Malcolm Butler and the way things went down with the quarterback and his departure. But overall, philosophically, I kind of subscribe, because I've seen the success of it, to you don't need the big splash. You don't need to make sure that the entire league is talking about you. Now, Bill frequently has made moves that make sure that the entire league is talking about you, whether it be Tim Tebow, whether it be Albert Haynesworth and Chad Ochocinco, whether it be, he was just giddy in 2016 with the number of moves they made to change and cultivate the narrative. It's signing Antonio Brown. These are big splash moves that have the ancillary benefit of making sure the Patriots are relevant. I think Bill likes to be relevant and likes to be in the conversation and likes to be somebody who's so enigmatic that people continually talk about, what are the Patriots going to do? Look out for the Patriots. They might be a wild card for Lamar. Patriots might be sniffing around DeAndre Hopkins. You never know. The Patriots could be in on Judy. And the Patriots are more a breadcrumb dropping team in these capacities. And I think that, for instance, specifically the Lamar Jackson conversation has become a breadcrumb dropping conversation. You know, Michael Felger, who is not really one to just lob it out there if he doesn't have a concrete source, believe it or not, worked with him on the beat. Yes, it serves Michael Felger's interests to have Lamar Jackson on people's lips. But if somebody told Mike, as they did, that Bill Belichick is intrigued by Lamar Jackson, I buy that. I know he's intrigued by it. I mean, how often have you ever heard Bill Belichick say something like this?
It's the type of player that's a MVP type of candidate. So I think he's more than answered him. But we'll see what his contract is. That'll answer him.
A side note here on that. How often have we ever heard a contract mentioned by Bill Belichick in any capacity? Never mind a looming contract. What will it be? The Lamar Jackson contract has had the entire NFL in a quiet uproar for a lot longer than the past 3 weeks since he's been franchised. The intrigue around Lamar Jackson's contract that began when Deshaun Watson signed his $230 million all-guaranteed deal with the Browns immediately made everybody's heads go, what's going to happen with Lamar? And now we see what's going to happen with Lamar. And using Lamar as a jumping off point to what I want to get into about chasing relevance, I think is perfect. I'm not congratulating myself. I'm just saying it's a good example. Because whether it's Rob Ninkovich on ESPN or Ted Johnson on an early edition last night, or listening to the Sports Hub or WEEI, there is so much concern, I think, among media, among former players, which Ted and Nink both are, among fans, of making a splash. You know, $40+ million a year for a guy who's played 12 games each of the past 2 seasons, who's kind of in some ways living off a 2019 season in which he ran for 1,200 yards, threw 36 touchdowns, had 7 picks, and showed himself to be perhaps the most explosive runner at the quarterback position that there's ever been, and the numbers have continued to bear that out. From Lamar Jackson, all that's true, but he's living off of 2019 and that MVP season. 2020, 2021, 2022, he's been okay. He was a Pro Bowler in 2021. He also had a season where he had 16 touchdowns and 13 picks. Do you know he's been sacked 19 times in 4 playoff games? And he's won one of them. I think he's an electric player. He's certainly better than Mac Jones by a far sight. However, $40+ million for a guy who plays 80% of the games and misses December, who's probably not going to get more durable. I find that to be, and to give up 2 draft picks for him, first rounders, for a team that's really struggled to build its team through the draft. I find that beyond the pale, especially when you have a suitable, not good, suitable quarterback at manageable prices in Mac Jones, who has been surrounded by players who I think Mac Jones should be able to exploit the abilities of, because he's good pre-snap, formation the crap out of people, zing, 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 sprinkler system. You're just dipping it around. Oh, Gesicki's over here in the slot. Excuse me, Gesicki down the seam. Kendrick Bourne on an out. Juju on a cross for the yak. Tyquan Thornton running the outside. You haven't even seen whether or not he's good. But people want to go in on Lamar Jackson because it's a relevant move. It's a splash move. And people are addicted because we've had 20+ years of it for the limelight. People are addicted to the buzz. And the way to get the buzz, as Rob Ninkovich pointed out on ESPN, is to sign Lamar Jackson. Run that Lamar for me. Run that Ninky from ESPN, please, Johnny.
If you are Lamar, you're digging in. And the Ravens, if they're not going to give Lamar what he wants, then you got to dig in and you got to hold out. And if you're another football team, I don't know, like the Patriots, if you're the Patriots and you go and you make an attempt to get Lamar, that changes everything, absolutely everything. And listen, I am a huge fan of just Lamar's style of game and what it puts on a defense, the stresses. And there's needs and wants, okay? A need is necessary for life. A want, it helps your quality of life. I don't need Lamar here, but I sure as heck want to see Lamar running around with a New England Patriot on his helmet. Because if you see it out there, the Patriots instantly become division favorites, and to me, get right back into that Super Bowl hunt.
Let's get it out there right now. The Baltimore Ravens did very little to surround Lamar Jackson with talent. And you'll hear Brent Harris talk about that. But he's not going to make the Patriots a Super Bowl contender like that. And even if they get themselves, which I think they're going to do without Lamar Jackson, I think they're going to become an 11-win team in 2023 anyway, because of Bill O'Brien, as long as things move along as the status quo. Don't talk to me about Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I'm living in a vacuum here. They're going to win 11 games. So that being the case, what more is Lamar Jackson going to give you? 13? You're going to go 13-4 because Lamar Jackson's here? And what will he bring you next year in 2023's offseason going into 2024 when every single wide receiver on your team is up? Parker, Bourne, not Juju, but a lot of the fellas. And in 2024, when your entire defensive front is up, Dietrich Wise, Matthew Judon, so many important players up front are up again. You can go through the front seven. I ain't doing it. Juwan Bentley. To me, the way to become relevant, to make a splash, is to win games. Because if the team is okay, 6-7, 8-5, it's December, and Lamar's not playing. NBC is not flexing you in. They're flexing you out. Well, maybe not at 8-5. But for Bailey Zappi and the Patriots taking on whoever, maybe. but the relevance ebbs. Win games, get good. That's how you make a splash and become relevant. Chasing relevancy, it's like eating cotton candy with these moves. It's just not filling. It's good for like 3 minutes, but once it dissolves and turns to sugar, As I said, we will keep our ear to the ground on DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, and any of these other splash moves you people are desirous of. But now, let's bring in the great Devin McCourty and talk to him about his career and whether or not the Patriots need a splash move for relevance. Hey, look who's back on Quick Slants.
This is like a throwback right here.
This is a throwback right
It's
here.
a nice ending to my career.
I knew that this would be the capstone to an incredible retirement press conference that you had today. Some of the anecdotes you gave were priceless. So were the anecdotes from Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. One thing that stuck out to me from this, Dev, was you're looking forward to retirement. You're not wistful and melodramatic and, I don't know if I should retire here. You're looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think for me it's a decision that I felt like I could still play if I wanted to play. Obviously, I don't think I'm the same player I was. I was 27 or 28 years old. But I do feel like if I wanted to play, I could put myself through the process of getting ready to play. So I think when you're able to make the decision that way, I'm not forced to make this decision. I decided that I wanted to retire, and I think because of that, I am excited about what's next, because if I didn't know, then I'll be busting my butt to try to get back out there and play. So that's made me excited.
You can embrace your fandom, too. You mentioned that. You're looking forward to being able to wear your Patriots jersey down in Jersey.
Not my jersey, my Patriots gear. I'm not going to wear my own jersey.
That'd be awesome.
That's weird if you wear your own jersey.
In your friggin' living room, McCourty 32.
No, but I got all these cool Patriots hoodies and T-shirts. But I always thought it was weird if I'm going to walk through New England with a Patriots shirt on. No, that's pointless.
Can't do that?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to be a hard grader? I think that's a question. Is when you're sitting.
I'm not. So what I'm not going to do is be like how some of you guys watch the game one time and then you have to put out grades. Hopefully my job doesn't make me do that, because my grades going to probably be, they're not going to be great grades.
No.
If it's someone scores a long touchdown, what was the coverage? I'm not going to be able to probably tell the coverage right away.
You people don't know the coverage.
So then I'm going to guess.
You don't know the call.
Because I watch some of the games sometimes, and I'll see some of the best minds in football go this looks like a cover 3, and I'm like, there's 2 safeties high. Can't unless it's an inverted cover 3. Now I'm saying something to you, and you're like, what the heck is an inverted cover 3?
I know what it did.
You don't know. I know you don't. But I'm going to grade.
He used to ask
Am I going to grade hard?
He used to ask me when he'd come into Quick Slants, how many times do you watch the games? What do you mean, how many times? I watch it on Sunday.
Yeah. How can you grade it with only watching it? And he's actually watching the game, not the all 22. You're just watching what they want to show you.
Sometimes I did. So if Mac has a bad...
The Super Bowls?
The Super Bowl.
Look, how did I know? You want to talk about if Mac has a bad game?
Yeah.
I'll first talk about if it was his fault he had a bad game. Was the play calling good? Did the line block well? Do we have good balance? Those are all things that go into it.
Nitty gritty.
That's all.
That's the nitty gritty.
That's the point of knowing football. But then you hear me. I'm expecting Mac to have 3 touchdowns and 350 yards every game.
All right, then let's just segue right into that. 2023 Patriots. Are they better with guys like you moving on, or worse with guys like you moving on and the guys that they've added?
J-Mac told me yesterday that team will be better with you gone. So I think he studies the game. He watches a lot of football this year. He must see something that has told him that. So, but no, I'm excited because I think when you have somebody like myself, like Slate, we've been here for a long time, the thought is always well, what are they going to do now? Mm-hmm. But because I was in it, I remember when Vince left and Gerard left, really the same year, a year apart. It was well, what are they going to do now? And it was well, who's going to step up? And guys don't remember writing a story this guy stepped. No, it just naturally happens. Guys step into roles. And I think some of those roles are already kind of defined. I think some of those guys will do more now. we can't have a bunch of people all talking. So if myself or Slate is speaking, guys give way to that. And I think guys will look around and be like, it's kind of void now. I got to step up, and I'm excited to see that.
That's something Mayo mentioned a couple of years ago. He said, it was at the Super Bowl, I think it was last year. look, we need some of these guys to move forward into these leadership positions. Ideally, they'll be some of our better players. Are you seeing that type of thing happen? You mentioned Mac front and center sitting there, and you are a huge Mac loving guy.
That's a cool thing to say, Mac loving guy. Well, I'll say this. Mac has come in and had to do something that hasn't been done in New England in a long time. There was one guy who manned the quarterback position for 20 years. And I don't think people realize that if you look at other franchises, it's like a revolving door of amount of guys that come in there and have a career. For 20 years, one guy has stepped in. Then for 1 year, we had Cam step in, who really, obviously you're behind Tom, but in his own was an MVP of the league, had already played, I think it was 9 or 10 seasons at a high level in the NFL. So he already came in with a little bit of, I'm a good football player.
Yep.
Like, I don't care what.
Didn't have to worry about
Matt
that.
comes in as a rookie, and he's going to be a quarterback of the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick as a rookie. Like, the amount of pressure and everything that goes into that. But even with him doing that as a rookie, he led the younger guys.
And he beat out Cam.
Always stepped up and did those things. So when people talk about him, they only see the finished product that gets on the field on Sunday, which when you're a young player, which we talked about today during my press conference, my rookie year was really good. My second year wasn't as good. That's what comes with being a younger player. So when you're a young quarterback, you just get it so much worse. But I think I wouldn't have this kind of love and admiration for him if I didn't see the work he's willing to put in, how he's trying to get better, the time he puts in, watching film. He lives this. He breathes football, and he wants to be great. You guys remember there were times we were telling him he had to chill out, not be as hard on himself. And I think all that's a learning process for him. So I think year 3 will be better than what we've seen so far because that's how players grow.
It's funny. People are addicted to the success of the team, and we as media too. I mean, we've become accustomed to, okay, it's probably going to be a conference championship, definitely a Final Four team virtually every year. That's gone away a little bit. And as a result, everything is evaluated in terms of not does this make us better, not does this make us a playoff team, but can we win the Super Bowl with it?
Yep.
That in mind, I think there's an impatience and a need for relevance. And people look at Lamar Jackson, for instance, and say, that would immediately make us relevant. Nico said that the other day on ESPN. Immediately would be the favorites for the division and a Super Bowl threat. And I look at that and say, is that really factual?
Listen, Lamar Jackson's been an MVP of this league. He's a great player. So, yeah, any team he plays on, that team will have a way better chance to probably win a championship because of what he's done in this league. But I always think of it this way. Is that team going to win a championship? If you told me to pick the champion for next year, I'm going to still pick the Kansas City Chiefs because they have the baddest man in football, Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, will people be super excited if Lamar Jackson comes? Yeah, probably. But does that mean you're going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer. So if you're asking me what's going to make fans happy and go buy the number 8 jersey downstairs, yeah, you can do that. But if you're going to ask me to trust somebody to build a Super Bowl team from bottom up, I'm going to decide on what Bill Belichick and Mr. Kraft do because when Tom Brady was still here and they selected me in the first round and then Robert Gronkowski, then Hightowers, and then the Chandler Jones, the Deron Harmons, the Logan. Like when they were selecting those guys, I don't think you guys were running to jump in front of the camera and say, you know what? Bill's done it. That's a Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl team. Yeah.
I wanted
Sergio Kindle was the guy when I got drafted. Everyone went crazy about. Sergio Kindle, I think, might have played 9 games in the NFL.
He had an accident.
I know, but still.
But still, he could have been.
Like Bill said today, you guys probably gave him a C because Gronk didn't play that year, and I was a special teams player.
Gronk played. He was a beast.
I thought he didn't play that last year in college. He played his
last year of college.
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant his rookie year.
No. Oh, I know he was a beast. Every year he was here, he was a beast.
Is there enough offensive see, this is a conversation, and I believe there is. Is there enough offensive talent for the Patriots to take the field with a straight face on Sundays and say, we can score 24-27?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything that when you say that, that's not just like an offense. That's a team thing. Like if you get dominated on defense, time of possession, and the team can run the ball, they're doing everything, and your offense is now they got to score every possession in like 2 minutes, or they got to have a long drive. Like, you're going to struggle to score points, but I think the way this team is built, I think they definitely have that opportunity to go out there and score 24 points, because you would hope no matter what, this team will get better. We're going to have guys return. We're going to have other guys step into positions. You look at Jasecki, you look at Juju, you look at adding guys like that. You got to hope, like, we do those things to get better. So I'm excited to see. I think the defense will return everybody, and they're going to – I think we have a great group of safeties that even last year when I was here. So I don't think, like, everyone's making a big deal about that. I don't think that'll be a problem at all.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is back. So
When you strap that offense to Billy O'Brien and add Jasicki and add Juju and have Tyquan Thornton in his second year, have Devontae Parker in his second year with the team. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Jacoby Myers is a hell of a player. You lose a lot of institutional knowledge. But I keep looking at this team again with Hunter Henry, another guy. And Ramondre. I mean, it's not a team that's bereft of talent on offense.
listen, in today's football age, I feel like I even have this sometimes in my group chats. We'll look at a team and they'll be like, they need another receiver. And I'm like, what do you want, the team to have 3 all-pro receivers? Like you want the whole team to get voted into the Pro Bowl because they're top 2 at their position? Like, to me, that's not realistic. Like, yeah, you would love that when you draft guys in a draft, you draft 3 potential Pro Bowlers that year. That's not going to continue. That's not going to always happen. So, yeah, to me, there's more than enough talent to go out there and win football games. That's what it's about. Are there going to be other teams that they're going to play that's going to have more talent? Yes. But there's also going to be teams that don't have as much talent. How do you figure out how to win? Like, that's ultimately what it's about, not the talent, all that. Like, we beat plenty of teams when I was here in Super Bowl runs that had more talent than us. I mean, when you think about it, that's what we were known as. This team's not that talented. James Harrison said it after we lost to the Eagles, like, oh, I understood from their coaches because they weren't that talented, which I then looked at and was like, well, that's nonsense because, yeah, we weren't talented at the position he came in for, but that's why we were searching for that position at the end of the year. And honestly, if we would have been as talented as we were the year before in 16 at that position, we probably could have had a better chance to win the Super Bowl.
3 in a row.
Yeah. But to me, that's what a team is built on. What you have, and then you figure out how to win football games.
I have said that the 2022 Patriots were lacking discipline and kind of played stupid situationally. Are those easily fixable? Am I inaccurate? I should ask that first.
No, I think some of the things we did, like, you know, I could be in a defensive position of like, no, and try to explain everything. But I would say, if I watched that in a game, I'd be like, that's dumb football.
On Mr. Surface level.
I'd be like, that's just dumb. That's just dumb football.
It's
So
4th and 1 and somebody goes offside.
yeah, like if someone says that, like, yeah, between penalties, bad looking plays that don't look like they were supposed to go that way. Yeah, there were enough plays to me that you watch and you say, this is uncharacteristic of a Bill Belichick coach team. No doubt about it. Why do I think that's fixable? Because I think even though you carry guys from year to year, each team is different. You can take one team and bring back, and we've seen that with this team, bring back the same team, and the season doesn't go necessarily the same. The things you got to fix that season will be a little different than the season before. Like, that happens. So, yeah, I think that's fixable. That starts when this team comes back in April. That starts with how do you pay attention to detail. When you get into training camp, how hard are you willing to work when you get tired? Like, what are those things? Because that's the time all those dumb penalties happen. Mm-hmm. Most of the bad plays, they don't happen in the first quarter. They happen at the end of the game. So how do we have the discipline that when we're in those situations in practice, because trust me, Bill will be putting this team in those situations tired, running hills, doing all those things, and then having to practice, they'll be in those situations. So are you going to say, man, this sucks, man? Or are you going to go execute? Because if you go and execute, the payoff comes at the end of the season. And I think there's enough leaders in that locker room that will encourage guys and push guys to do those things. And it's probably where we fell short a little bit as leaders last year of pushing the team hard enough that doesn't happen. Like, you don't get to be a leader when everything goes right and you're like, yeah, man, I'm the leader of this team. When things go wrong, that also falls in your lap. So I think everything's about a learning experience, and hopefully the guys that's leading the team going into next year learn from that and will make this team more disciplined. But I would even say just play better in situational football when you absolutely need your best. To every single player understand that they need my best. Mm-hmm. Not I need my best to be great. That guy next to me needs my best so we can execute and be a better team.
Dev, I could go on forever. And the best part about it is you could too, but I'm going to put a halt to this.
Yeah, we don't have enough time in the show for that.
Well, we'll see you next week. Quick Slants will be back at you.
Is Kay going to come too? We could put like Kay.
Kay will be
there.
right here. Yeah, she's a tiny little person.
Yeah.
So she can just sit on the shoulders. Thank you so much, and congratulations on a brilliant career. And all you did for us at our station, all you did for the media as a whole, all you did for the fans, and all you did for the community and for New England. You gave more in your 13 years here than you got, I think. And that's probably a rare transaction between athlete and player.
I think it's pretty close.
I mean, athlete and community.
I think it's pretty close. I got a lot from this community over my 13 years, a lot.
All right, great stuff from Dev. And now we bring in Brent Harris and Trenny and me from early edition last night to go a little deeper with a voice from Baltimore on Lamar Jackson.
Tom, Curran, and I welcome WBAL's Brent Harris, who has covered Lamar and the Ravens for a long time. Well, first and foremost, it seems like people here seem to think Lamar Jackson's top 5 quarterback would absolutely turn the Patriots into a Super Bowl contending team. If he's that good, Brent, why haven't the Ravens done more to keep him around?
Well, he is really good, obviously a former MVP, and the number that always jumps out is 45-16. That is his record as a starter. And remember this, because I've heard a lot about just what he's able to do, and he makes everybody else around him better, and he can take a bad offense and make it that much more explosive. The Ravens have spent the least amount of money on offense than any team in the NFL over the last 5 years. They have not given Lamar Jackson a whole lot of weapons. So what he has done to me is even more impressive. And really the only reason a deal has not gotten done is because Lamar Jackson wants guaranteed money. And Deshaun Watson got that, $230 million. That's the bar. That's what Lamar Jackson is going for. And what I have said from the beginning, this is more than just Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. This is about the NFLPA and the owners. This is going to be a battle that Lamar Jackson is willing to fight for. But in the end, does he have enough leverage? That's what it's going to come down to. In the end, is he willing to sit out an entire season on principle of trying to get guaranteed money? And that's kind of where it's heading right now.
It was interesting when he tweeted just a couple days back in response to a report, Brent, that it was 3 and what was it? 3 years and
133?
133.
So basically that's $41 million a year. And that seemed to me to be guaranteed. Yeah, it's $100 million shy of Deshaun Watson, but that was above and beyond what anyone would have given to somebody who's a semi-deviant. So to me, why does that not seem equitable for a guy who hasn't finished the last 2 seasons?
I think he feels he's worth more than a 3-year deal. I think that's what it comes down to. I'm with you, Tom, because 133 over 3 years, he would be a free agent, a full free agent before he turns 30, and he'd have another crack at that big contract. So to me, guaranteed money, put that franchise tag away and go play for 3 on 133 makes a ton of sense. I think the Ravens want to lock him up longer than that. I think they want to get the 5-year deal done. They're rolling the dice on the non-exclusive in hopes somebody else makes an offer. The Ravens, I think, are ready to match any offer and be able to hold him there in Baltimore long term.
Listen to this. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to hit you with some numbers. 2019 was the gold standard for quarterbacking in the last 4 years, really. 36 touchdowns, 7 picks, runs for 1205. Since then, his QBR, that year was 83. Then it's gone 67, 50, 59. And his approximate value, which is a good measure, has gone from 25 that year, which is off the charts, from 18 to 11 and 12. By way of comparison, Mac Jones's AV has been 14 as a rookie, which is pretty good, 9, which not that good last year. Is he still getting better, Lamar Jackson? Or maybe is he living off of 2019 a little bit?
I mean, those are great numbers to live off of, for sure. He has not gotten back to that level. I do think he's getting better. Again, only 26 years old. The Ravens have not invested into their offense. You can still look at his numbers, career 64% completion percentage. He's got 100 touchdowns now for his career. I do think the ceiling is still higher than what we have seen. But when it comes to dual threat, There is nobody that has been better than him, and I don't see anybody that's going to be better than what he is as a dual threat quarterback. I think there's a lot of head coaches, there's a lot of offensive coordinators that wish they could start game planning with somebody like Lamar Jackson under center.
Brent, if you were the Patriots, would you not only give him the guaranteed money that he is looking for, but also give up, they'd probably have to give up like Mac Jones and a first-round pick, or Mac Jones and 2 first-round picks. Like, is Lamar Jackson worth all of that?
I think he is. I think he changes your franchise. He's a difference maker on the field. We have seen that. Certainly Bill Belichick and the Patriots have seen that at times over the years. I think Belichick has been a fan of Lamar Jackson from afar. Does he want to be a fan of Lamar up close? The 2 first rounds, I don't think for teams should scare anybody. Look what the Carolina Panthers just gave up to move up on the draft board to select a college quarterback who has been really unproven at the NFL level. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a really good wide receiver. So 2 firsts is not a big deal. Anybody's willing to give up a first to get a quarterback in the first round. You're just asking for a second first-round pick. So I don't think that's a big deal. I think the Patriots would jump on that in a heartbeat if they could get the money. The money's the issue, because I think Lamar Jackson wants somewhere in that Deshaun Watson guaranteed money range. I don't know anybody's willing to give it to him.
And you have to throw all that money right into an escrow account and fund that contract. Will Lamar Jackson, before he turns 30, play somewhere else other than Baltimore? We just have a second.
And by the way, I think that's more for Mr. Kraft than Bill Belichick when you talk about the guaranteed money. I don't know, because I wonder if the feelings are hurt, Tom. I just, this whole franchise thing has been tough, and we have not heard from Lamar. I don't know how Lamar feels. Nobody does except Lamar, his mom, and those close to him. It'll be interesting to see when Lamar finally does talk, if there's any hurt feelings or if he feels like he can be here long term.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this particular pod. We will be back on Thursday with another edition of Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Have a great week.